Good evening. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to spend some time learning with you. And those of you who can, I would like to ask if you can maybe go into Sefaria and I'll tell you where to go. That might help instead of the document. I wanted to talk this evening about the candles that we light. I'll call them candles, I'll call them lights, I'll call them lamps. It's all the same because we can use oil lamps or candles. And we're used to the idea that, well, we know what we do. We light a whole lot of candles. Some people have the custom to light just one person in the family, but most of us, everyone lights, and we start with a few. And I want to wind back and see how this came about and what it means about our feelings about Hanukkah. So those of you who can, if you can open up maybe in Sefaria to Masechet Shabbat, Bameh Madlikin, the Masechet Shabbat, page 21b. So if those of you can, I'll read it to you, and I do apologize. Tanu Rabbanan, Mitzvat Chanukah, Ner Ish Ubeito. How should we light Hanukkah lights? The master of the house, or the mistress of the house, or someone in the house, Ish Ubeito, a person and his home. Lights, understood? How many candles? One. Mitzvat Chanukah, Ner Ish Ubeito. One ner for the home, for the whole home, every night. And then there are a number of options that are given. V'hamahadrin, those who are exceptionally, well, what we call mahadrin today, people who are diligent with mitzvot, but actually mahadrin are people who want to find the beauty in mitzvot, from the word hadar. Hamahadrin, ner lechol echad ve'achad. They light each person. Well, maybe ner lechol echad ve'achad means each person lights one light, and maybe ner lechol echad ve'achad means one person lights according to the number of people in their home. And that is a different custom that probably most of you, each one lights, but there is a custom, it's in the Rambam, for one person to light according to the number of people in the home. V'hamahadrin min hamahadrin, and those who want to beautify it even more, then they start with 8 and go down to 1, or start with 1 and go up to 8. And the first question to ask is, why do we have this option of mahadrin and mahadrin min hamahadrin on Hanukkah? After all, it's a rabbinic mitzvah. Why have such an option at all? And one Hasidic view, Hasidic Rebbe Sfat Emet, very well known Hasidic Rebbe and writer, Gera Rebbe, he spoke about the idea that it's because Hanukkah itself came from people who were being mahadrin. After all, they were raining down arrows on them. They were in great danger. They didn't really have to light the menorah at that moment. It was dangerous. They also could have said, we have enough oil for one night, we'll do that, and when we get oil again, we'll do it again. Rachmana. God, who's Rachaman, Anus Patre, if somebody can't do a mitzvah, he understands. The person becomes patur. He doesn't have to. So the whole of Hanukkah was based on this idea that people were going to try to do a mitzvah. The whole of the lighting of the menorah was based on the idea that they were trying to do a mitzvah because they badly wanted to. They finally got back to the Beit HaMikdash and they were desperate to light the menorah. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered that call, whereas most miracles are because we really need it. We were at the Dead Sea. We're at a moment today. We had the story of Hanukkah. We need a miracle. But sometimes something comes which is a gift. And this was a gift. And then there's a discussion, very surprising discussion. For sure, we're going to light a lot. Each person, or according to some views, just one person, but the general custom is each person is going to light not one every night, but more. It's Shabbat 21b, please. Thank you. Gemara Shabbat 21b. So each person is going to light, and Beit Shammai says, start with 8. You've got 8 nights. Start with 8 lights, 8 oil lamps, 8 candles, and then move down and gradually decrease it until you get to 1. or he just says gradually decrease it. Holechu pochet. And Beit Hillel says, no, start with 1 and go up. Increase it. Mosif v'holech. Continually increase it. And then there was a discussion among different sages after their time as to what the reasoning was. Why did Beit Shammai say start with 8 and go down to 1? And why did Beit Hillel say start with 1 and go up towards 8? And there are a number of reasons given. One of them is looking at the days that have passed, and the other is looking at the days that are coming. And according to Beit Shammai, we start with 8 because there are 8 days still left, and then we move down. And according to Beit Hillel, we start with 1. I'm not sure yet what it means, what different psychological things it means when you're looking at what's been accomplished versus what's left, or what's the days that are left, different ways of understanding that. But there's a very simple understanding to Beit Shammai, which is they started with the most oil and then slowly, presumably, used it up, even miraculously slowly. And so there's a way to understand the starting with 8. But the Jewish people voted with their feet, and we all go according to Beit Hillel. Some light only 1 Chanukiah, each person lights a Chanukiah, some the head of the house lights many Chanukiah, but everybody starts with 1 and moves upward. And another reason is given for the differences, and I believe you have another shiur tomorrow about Beit Shammai's view and the connection to Sukkot. I assume that will be it. But the connection for Beit Hillel is ma'alin b'kodesh ve'ein moridin. That when we deal with something that has to do with sanctity, we increase, we elevate it, ma'alin, we continue to elevate something rather than decreasing it, rather than downgrading it, devaluating. You could imagine if you start with 8 and then keep on going, it's as if this mitzvah was great the first night. It was really exciting. But after that, it's less exciting, less exciting, less exciting. It's just like something I'm used to doing. I've always done it. Whereas we're saying, no. When we start the mitzvah, it's only the beginning of the excitement. And as we continue doing it, we're going more deeply into it and enjoying it more and getting closer to God more through that mitzvah. And so we're increasing. Now, this idea of ma'alin b'kodesh ve'ein moridin, we elevate when we hit something kedusha, actually originally comes from a Mishnah, or its earliest mention is in a Mishnah, about how when they brought the lechem hapanim, breads to go on the table in the Beit HaMikdash, they would put them on a marble table on the way in. For those of you who want, it's in Masechet Menachot. They would put it on a marble table as they went in. Then it would go on the gold shulchan. And then when they removed it, they would put them on a gold table. They needed to stay for a few minutes, and they would stay on a gold table. And the question is why? Why a marble table at the beginning? And that's the idea that something's already been on a marble table, then it's been on a gold table. Then don't downgrade it and put it now on a wooden table, or even a marble table. Keep it on a gold table. And this idea is used in the Gemara mostly in treatments of other human beings. If somebody's been given an opportunity, then don't knock them down. It's also connected to the broken luchot, the broken tablets, which are still put in the aron. And a human being who in their old age may forget, and yet we still want to give them kavod and space. So this idea of ma'alin b'kodesh ve'ein moridin is a sense of really treasuring the mitzvah, treasuring it, and therefore wanting to expand it, to elevate it, and to get more and more out of it, rather than to feel, oh, I did it, and now I can just do it. I'll have to do it again and again. Nobody feels that about Hanukkah. Somehow we know that we're expanding something. We're making something more light. Now, the same Sfat Emet that I mentioned before also wrote about this question, and he added another idea. And he said, the idea of Beit Shammai and the idea of Beit Hillel, Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim, both of them are the words of the living God, or the living words of God. And why? Because there's two sides to fire. After all, fire does two things. It burns away things, in which case it's often destructive. And it also, in the process, of course, gives light and heat. And so he said, actually, let's look at this issue of the fire. Beit Shammai, what is he focusing on? And this might fit with many of the things we've learned about Beit Shammai in different times. What is Beit Shammai focusing on? He's focusing on Sur Meirah. What does the fire do? It burns away. And the focus of the Sfat Emet is very internal. I'll match it to another Mishnah in Menachot, the very last Mishnah in Menachot, which is talking about the fact that in the Chumash, in Vayikra, it often says that when we bring a sacrifice, it's reach nichoach. It's a pleasing, acceptable, beautiful scent before the Almighty. It says it about bringing a big animal. It says it about bringing a bird. It says it if you bring just an offering of meal, which a poor person would do, to teach us, l'lamed, she'echad ha'mabeh ve'echad ha'mam'it u'bilvad she'yichavein adam et da'ato l'shamayim. What matters is where your mind is, where your feelings are. It doesn't matter the person who brings a lot or the person who brings a little. Marbeh, who can bring a lot, or mam'it, who can bring a little. It matters what they feel, what they're aiming, where they're turning. Mechavein et da'ato l'shamayim. This person is focusing their mind, their being, to heaven. And this connects, of course, to the Ma'alim B'Kodesh, to the sense that what matters is what we're feeling about it, where we're going. Now, when we come back to the Sfat Emet, we're lighting now, and Beit Shammai is saying, my focus is on Sur Meirah. In terms of if I want to grow religiously, if I want to change, if I want to get close to God, I'm focusing on Sur Meirah, moving away from evil, moving away from wrong. If I want to change, the focus has got to be on the fire burning. And therefore, I'm starting with 8 and slowly burning away. I'm looking at how much there is to burn, how many things I want to change. And I start with 8, and I move towards a moment when I'll have much less. But Beit Hillel is looking at it from the point of not what the fire is burning away, but what the fire is giving. It's giving light. It's giving warmth. He's focusing on hitlahavut. Hitlahavut in Hebrew means some sort of combination between excitement and enthusiasm and devotion. It comes from lahava, a flame, and it means to be inflamed and kindled, a light. And what Sfat Emet is saying is that Beit Shammai is looking at it as, I want more and more light. I want more and more internal excitement. I want more and more fervor and sense of wanting God. I want more and more giving to others and receiving, more and more looking at positively with that light at myself, at others, at what I can give. So I'm wanting to increase that light through, and therefore I start with 1 and I move upward, further and further upward, to create more and more light. So I want to take that not only from the inward situation, but more to the moment that we're in at the moment, which is we're in a situation where because of our situation, we have to be focused a lot on what's going on the pain, on the need to fight. And that's not so different from the Maccabees, because Hanukkah didn't occur at the end of all the wars. It occurred in the middle of the story. That moment of devotion occurred in the middle of the story. And what we're saying is, Ma'alin b'kodesh, ve'ein moridim. We're moving upward with this sense of devotion, and we're focusing, despite the fact that in some ways we have to focus on what's going wrong, on what went wrong, what we have to do, even on fighting and on war. But at the same time, we have to hold on to the way Jews chose to celebrate Hanukkah. And Hanukkah came in the middle. Ma'alin b'kodesh, we continuing trying to increase the light. And the Sfat Emet in another spot points out that he likes to read that Mishnah about Echad HaMarbeh and Echad HaMam'it and read it this way, not read it as, it's not so important if you give a big korban or a small sacrifice. It's not so important if your etrog looks like this, if you could afford this one or that one. Maybe it's not even so important if you can concentrate for a long time on your davening, or you're really good at learning, or you learn much less. The quantity is not important, because before God, quantity is irrelevant. What's important is what we're doing. And he says, but the words marbeh and mam'it can also mean who decreases and increases. Really, there isn't one path, which is the only path. You can be somebody who is marbeh, who is increasing, who's looking to increase the light, to increase the goodness. Or you can be somebody who's working very hard on what you saw was problematic. And what matters is, are you doing it? Are you trying to focus on what you think HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants from you? On with way that you think you can give, that you think you can be close to God and close to other human beings. And what you get here is the sense that although Hanukkah is right in the middle of actually battles, right in the middle of it. If you read Sefer Maccabim, you see they're in the middle of things. Nevertheless, there's this opportunity to feel I can try to give my all also to this relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu and with others in the midst of having to fight. And that's pretty incredible, an idea, really. And I want to go on to another idea which appears on the same page in the Gemara, which is the question of, what if I'm doing a mitzvah? And in the process, how much do I have to care about what's going on for other people and how it's influencing them? And the suggestion is that there's a Mishnah, there's a halacha in Baba Kama, which says that if somebody comes along with his camel and it's too overloaded, and as a result, some of the load from his camel goes into, think the shuk, goes into somebody's little store and causes a fire from their oil lamp, then the camel driver has to pay because it's his fault. It's his responsibility. But if the person put the oil lamp outside and didn't watch, and it's a narrow area, and he knows people are going to come through, and camels are going to come through, and there's a fire, it's the person who put the light outside who's responsible. Then the question comes up, well, what about Ner Hanukkah? Ner Hanukkah was originally outside. It was there to share it with everyone, to show everyone that God had done us a great kindness and a great miracle and a great gift to us. What about that? Surely I don't have to worry about some camel driver. He should know it's Hanukkah. And the answer is no. Even in Rabbi Yehuda thought it would be okay because you were doing a mitzvah. But the halacha is no. Even when I'm doing my great moment of fervor, my great moment of a sense of God in my life, that includes thinking about what about the others? What's happening to them? Am I sure that in my doing this mitzvah, I'm actually creating the light that I was hoping to create. And we remember that given someone who can do both, it's Ner Shabbat, which creates shalom at home, which overrides. If one somehow was in a situation one didn't have, it was Friday, and one didn't have oil for both or more than one candle, well, one could imagine, God forbid, somebody maybe being in that situation, then yes, we go for peace. Because if we create peace, we have within ourselves and within our homes and within our immediate environments, then we have a chance of teaching others about miracles and about sharing the love. And the love that we feel in the process of Hanukkah is one that others will be able to understand, others will be able to partake of. And this growing love that we're expanding over the 8 days will be something that we're able to share. And we're able to say to another, come with us. Come look at what we have. Come and join us. So I want to bring that to a close, to express this possibility. If anybody wants, we can send the sheets out so that people can see the material more clearly. But I want to extend this hope that we should be able, even this year, even with all the difficulty, may it be so much better by the time we get to Hanukkah, may we be able to have a sense that we can feel the light, that we can share the light, and we can make that light grow, and that we can sense that that which we love, we can help others to love too, despite the difficult time we are in. And maybe we can find the ways in which the Hanukkah this year will resonate in a way it never did for us because of the similarity of the times, in actual fact. And may Hashem make it that we have miracles like that time, that we have a Yeshuah, a salvation like that time, the salvation of Bayim Yamim Haim, the miracles of Bayim Yamim Haim should come Bazman Hazeh, should come in this time, not just that we light to remember, but that light actually comes for us, and that in this time we have an opportunity of Bayamim Haim really in Zman Hazeh.